So the first stock on my list to look at is one called CoreWeave. Now CoreWeave is an AI focused hyperscaler. They sell access to high powered GPUs to a range of AI companies such as OpenAI and some others. So I will show you the website. So looking at this website, we can see that it provides AI on demand. So if we go on products, we can see that they offer a load of different GPU compute. So we see all the things from NVIDIA RTX all the way up to the H series, which are NVIDIA's latest and most powerful chips. So if we scroll down through the website, we can see purpose-built cloud services for AI. You get reliable GPU clusters ready for use on day one, and these are optimized for AI workloads. And we go through and we can see all the different cloud services they offer. So we have compute, we have storage, networking, all of the really good stuff. And we see here CoreWeave is the #1 AI cloud platform. So we can see all of their different application layers and services. If we go through, there's a video there on more about what they do, and we can see some of the leading AI innovators who rely on it. So we see Jane Street, the financial company. We've got OpenAI there. We've got Minstrel AI, Novel AI. We've got Odyssey. So really, really strong and robust company. I think I've done a lot of due diligence outside of this, but I think from a website point of view, I think that there's some interesting stuff there. So I think the next thing is, how do you chart? So if I get rid of that, so we can see CoreWeave, it IPO'd in March 2025 at the end of March, so right before the Trump tariffs. And I think when we break down, we'll show just the impact that had. But I think so when you get it on TradingView, you see this. So because it is relatively new, I have gone for the weekly time frame. When I'm setting levels, I start with the highest time frame feasibly possible. This, I think the monthly, since it's not been listed for long enough, there's not enough data on the monthly to really make it worthwhile. You see some CoreWeave news here. So we see Zacks, CoreWeave bets big on AI, CoreWeave versus Amazon, which has more upside. So these are really good if you find a stock and you want to learn a little bit more about them. You have the news here. You can click here and see some different people's ideas, and here you're able to say what exactly is on your mind for CoreWeave. So some of the key stats, so $56.4 billion market cap. We see some of their earnings coming up. No dividends, and we can see the performance. And from a technical perspective, this is rated as a sell with a neutral analyst rating. So all really interesting. I think if we would dive right in and look at this from a price action perspective, I will look to set some levels. So starting off from the bottom, what I'm looking for is where we have two candle closes that are next to each other. This I think is quite an interesting level, so I would press Alt H. I would set that level there, and I would type in weekly because that is a weekly level. Outside of that, we don't really see any other levels on this time frame, so I would reset chart view. So we've got a weekly level there. If I go on to this from a daily perspective, so we can see walking through, so you see IPO came off, then we had this rally, and then as you remember, the 2nd of April was the president's tariffs. So we see a big slide back down. If I mark this here, I'll press Alt and H. I will turn this line red, and I will type in ATL. And if we go up here, I will do the same up here. I need to click. There we are. And I will make this line up here green, and I will put all all-time high. So we know the boundaries we're working within. We've got a low of 33.42 and we've got a high of 187. So diving back in, so if I make my lines white again, what do we have from a daily perspective where we have levels together? I think there's an interesting level here where you've got 3 candle closes on the daily all next to each other. So I would Alt-H, daily. And then as we see, this was quite a rapid move up, so there's not a huge amount round here, and I think in all honesty this is probably slightly irrelevant now, the price action down here. I think where we're looking for is more sort of price action on the top end. So if we go up, there's a daily level there. So working our way up further, not a huge amount. It's quite a difficult one to chart. I think we've got a daily level there at 125. And then, yeah, there's not a huge amount up here. Maybe that one if we're forcing one at 149. So we potentially have to go at this a different way, and this is quite exciting. So if I go back, so I think if we zoom out, given that there's not a huge amount to go on, what I would do here is I would instead go for what is called a fixed range volume profile. So I would draw this out across the whole chart. So we can see areas where there's a lot of volume, and we can expect price to move quite quickly through those areas. So if I was to draw these out, so I think this is an interesting area of volume, so I'd potentially do this from a box perspective. So I think we had a look at that. So we see a volume box there. We see a patch of volume there. And a patch of volume there. This I will put a line on, and we'll make the line purple, and I will write volume. There is a small patch here, so I'll go for that, 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 there. So we see some of these sort of more minute levels, and then we potentially look at, I think maybe this box here, you could draw this all the way down to maybe there, and then increase that a little bit. So if we get rid of that, so what we're left with, so I'll make these boxes a slightly different colour, so we'll make them purple. So there we are. So we've got purple boxes. So if we look at sort of where price is coming, so we'll break it down into a 4-hour perspective. We can see where it's respected the levels. So we see this is quite a key level. This daily level is an area to watch out for. We see that once it gained it on the 4-hour, we rallied right up into this zone here. We accumulated, and then we fired. And we fired right up into this zone up here. And then, as we can see, slide back down, back into this volume box. I think we're looking at whether we hold this or whether we come back down and really test this. So I would potentially, if I was looking to trade this a bit more actively, so I think we would look for what's called a back test. So if I get this, we zoom in. So this on the left hand side is where I think the most relevant price action would be. This is where I think the most relevant price action would be. So if I draw this out here, so we see this as an area. So I will get this line, and we see that this comes off here. So from a backtest perspective, we've got one there. We zoom in, we can see this is a really strong area of volume. We're slightly below this, so I would mark this out here. Where else do we have? So we've got one here off this candle, and we have one here, so slightly below our box level. So if I was to take this off, so that's on the 15 minutes. So if we go back onto, if we look at this from an hourly perspective, and we go back on, we can see what are we looking for. So we are looking, potentially, we're keen to see if it holds inside this box. So we can see that it seems to have found some support in this box. We see this big fair value gap here. So if I was to click on this, we can see a fair value gap all the way up to some resistance here. So if you were looking to trade this, you'd potentially be looking for a hold support. Potentially we're looking for a hold of support and then a rally up to here and here. Or if we lose this support, I think you'd potentially be looking for a bounce down at 109, or potentially a back test down at 106.9. If it failed to have that, you'd probably take out this wick here, and you may then be looking at a back test around this sort of $98 mark. So yeah, essentially that is what I'd be looking at. So I think if we go back onto the high time frame on the daily, we can see it's in free fall. It depends where here it bounces. I think if we lose this box, look for entries down inside this second box.